had minimized, restart, close. I had minimized it, so. Do I leave it there now or minimize it? Just leave it there. Okay.
First guy I ever saw get a round of applause before he was introduced.
Good evening, everyone. I am Mayor DeMarjay Williams, and I will read the prayer sessions for today. Dear God, today this session opens. We pray that our presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of the city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be a strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day with the wisdom to make decisions which will be for good of our city. We also pray your special blessing to all of those who are working to transform our city to make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Now please join me to the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag. Mr. Clerk, please roll call.
Councilor Scott.
Here.
Councilor Yem.
Here.
Mayor Chow.
Here.
Acting Mayor DeMarji Williams.
Here.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Here.
Councilor Getchia.
Here.
Councilor Janess.
Present.
Councilor Leahy. Councilor Mercier. Councilor Noon.
Here.
Councilor Robinson.
Here.
Councilor Rourke.
Here.
9 present.
Now I ask for a moment of silence.
Any councilors have any moment of silence? Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do not have the whole detail, but I just want to take a moment of silence for Carol Duncan, the wife of George Duncan, the founder and the president of the Enterprise Bank. She has been the beacon of our community. She's been with the Girls Inc. for 22 years, and she's been involved in so many nonprofit organizations, including Anchor Dan Troop. So I would like to offer a moment of silence to remember her. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other councilors? Hearing none, I just briefly want to echo the sentiments of Councilor Yam and all the councilors here. Mrs. Duncan was an inspiration to all of us in the entire city. It's a big loss to the Duncan's family, but also it's a big loss to the entire city. Please join us in a moment of silence in Dock and Chamber.
Mayor's business, communication, remote, Zoom, and participation. Motion to accept, place on file by C.
By Councilor Drinkwater, seconded by Councilor Getchia. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion is carried.
I now turn to Mayor Sakawi Chow.
Thank you, Mayor Williams. Please give a hand of applause to Mayor Williams. I have to tell you, he is the only mayor that I know that when he comes to a meeting, people give him a standing ovation of applause. So there's definitely there's a future for Mayor Williams in the future. And today I just want to recognize and iterate how important it is to have young people, to have young adults engage in government, engage in civic government like this, be part of the process, be part of the leadership. And as you can see, and Mayor Williams, he's really excited to have the leadership role in our city, to lead this meeting and to welcome everyone to City Hall. And this energy that he is embodying today, this is the type of energy that we need and that we have in our city. With that, I want to give credit acknowledgement to Vice Mayor Getchia for selecting Mayor Williams to be Mayor of the Day today. With that said, before I turn the floor to comments by the councilors, I'm going to read a brief citation that the mayor's office has prepared so the public would know a little bit about Mayor Williams' background. Official citation, be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby offers a sincerest congratulations to DeMarge Williams, Mayor of the Day. DeMarge is a senior at the Greater Lowell Technical High School, where he is enrolled in the carpentry program. Through this program, he has learned all phases of construction, from small projects to house construction, learning an array of hands-on skills. Along with being in his program, DeMarge is also employed by the Greater Lowell Technical High School as a maintenance worker, where he helps keep his school running smoothly inside and out. Now, therefore, I, as the co-mayor of the day, and on behalf of the entire City Council, extends our sincerest congratulations and best wishes for good health and happiness to Mayor Williams, signed by myself and the entire City Council. And Mayor Williams knows, as with all good mayors, the mayor always let the public and the council speak first before you speak. So with that said, if the council raise their hand, and Mayor Williams will call on the council to speak.
Yes.
Councillor Yam.
Councilor Young?
Yes. I just want to congratulate you, and my son also graduated at the same time as you are. He's Sebastian Yam in the electronic. I like the sounds of Mayor Williams a lot better than Mayor Chow. I'm just telling you that. All right? So now you got my support, and hopefully one day you will stand there, you know, as a mayor representing the entire city. Congratulations. We are very proud of you.
Councilor Robinson?
I just want to say, man, you are doing your thing, and I'm proud to see that. Like, I mean, between your education you take serious, my colleague tells me at work at the vocational school, very serious and punctual, and now you're mayor for the day. Sky's the limit. Keep it up. I'm very, very, very glad.
Councilor Gettier?
It's nice to see you, DeMarge, on your week off. A little over a year ago, I met a young man, probably 5 inches shorter than you were. I think he grew about 5 inches in that year. And we should have probably provided the mayor with a stool so he could stand next to you. Not that I wouldn't need that stool too, Mr. Mayor. You know, we and every time you come in, you bring an energy that is second to none. I call you guys the Fab Five because you got you, Jay Lenise, you got Steven, Sam, Leo, and all of you somehow brought everything together and bonded. And it was through your leadership and your smiles and your energy that you bring and your willingness to do anything in that building, and you do. The whole school loves you. When you come in, everybody knows DeMarge. But one of the things that struck me is how you love the city of Lowell and the way you always talk about it. And you always say my title to people. Do you know who that is? And I'm like, DeMarge, please stop that. Stop that. Don't say that. But your respect for others is second to none at your age. And, you know, your mother and father should really take kudos for the young man you are. You're full of energy, full of life. You care for others. I'll tell you a quick story about how he got recognized as doing good. He was coming out of the back where the kids get food that work for us for after school, and there was a young lady sitting on the bench and said, "Where did you get that food?" And DeMarge said, "Why, would you like some?" And she said, "Yeah, and you gave her yours." And that says something about the person you are. Hopefully you don't lose that love for others, and hopefully you don't change who you are today, because in the end, You need to change the world to be more like you than the way it's going now. So I thank you for being who you are. I'm amazed you're standing up there, and keep doing the good things. And it will pay off.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other counselors? And if not, you make a speech.
Any other counselors?
Mr. Mayor?
Would you introduce your parents so we know them?
Oh, my parents, my mother, Kimberly Glenn. And my father, Kapisa Williams. It's an honor to be here today. I want to say first thing first, I want to just thank God for the blessing of to be here and to see all you guys' faces. I want to thank my parents first. Mom, I love you so much. Thank you for making the young man I am today, for raising me. My father as well, I love you so much. You really taught me to be a hardworking man, and I love you for that. Back to my mom, she made me to the person I am, and I love her very much. A little nervous, so years ago, I never thought that I would be here. I was depressed, lonely, but meeting the company, Mass Hire, the Youth Hire Program, for giving me a job, teaching me the skills to become a worker and be communication, and it's an honor. So I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Eric Gitcher for just giving me an opportunity, and he really taught me some things, a lot of things. And I want to shout out to my church that came today. I love you guys for coming out and support. My brothers are here, family as well. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. I just want to teach people, not just the youth, that you're going to go through some storms, but there's a rainbow after that. So good times is going to come for a lot for you. And doctor said that I wasn't going to pay attention in school. I wasn't paying attention in school, and I was going to have a hard time in school, but I came back with 3 honor rolls, so proved them wrong. I guess I proved them wrong. Teenagers would say, DeMarge, you will never fit in. I fit into a nice job with nice people in a nice city council as a mayor, so it's honestly a great, I'm humbly thankful, Just having this opportunity, I don't know, maybe I'll run for a city council one day. Yeah, I like the job. I like it. It's different. And I just want to say I love y'all. Hope y'all investing in yourselves, doing good in yourselves. Keep faith in God, and love y'all.
Now we ask the family and the counselors to take pictures together. as the council take a picture with all of us.
Not to block.
I wish you guys a good meeting.
Yes, I am. Come back anytime.
Great. Thank you again, Mayor Williams. Good to see everybody here. We now will continue with the rest of the meeting. I will try to do as good of a job as Mayor Williams did a few minutes ago. Next on the agenda is we have another citation. This is for Mass Hire Lowell Youth Adult Career Center. And it is really my pleasure. Tonight, we're just celebrating the young adults in our city, and it is fitting to celebrate the Mass Hire Lowell Youth Adult Career Center as well. So I've got to have the young adults stand at the podium and the program coordinator at the podium as I read this citation to you. Please stand at the podium. Good evening. Please stand close to the podium so the camera can pick you up. And we're just very, very grateful and thankful for all you do with the Young Adults program. So I'm going to read the citation from up here. Be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Mass Hire Lowell Young Adult Career Center. The Mass Hire Lowell Young Adult Career Center is one of the less than a handful of centers designed and specifically to service young people between the ages of 14 and 24 in the state of Massachusetts. Opening its doors in 2021, the Young Adult Career Center has assisted over 1,000 young adults in their pursuit of a better life by providing hands-on work experiences, networking and opportunities, resume building, soft skills work readiness training, high school equivalencies instruction, occupational training, and more. The Mass Hire Lowell Young Adult Career Center will filter over $1 million back into the community this year through wages paid to young adults in programming. Mass Hire Lowell Young Adult Career Center will boost the local economy, increase yearly wages for low-income young adults in the City of Lowell, and help to create a better financial environment for all involved. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Zachary Chow, on behalf of the entire City Council, hereby offer best wishes to Mass High Low Young Adult Career Center for continued success, signed by myself and the entire City Council. Congratulations. Before I have someone speak from the program, any comment, questions by any of the councilors? Councilor Gishia?
Thank you, Mayor Chow. Over the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to work with the career young adults down at from Mass Higher, and I can't say thank you enough to Heather Donovan, Shannon, and to the staff, Victoria, Monica, Jay, Shannon, Vesna, Hawa, Nathan, Janessa, and Ashley. They provide a lot for students and young adults. And what they do is they don't just hire somebody. They take them through the hiring process, they interview people, and then they make them go to training and come through this program. For many of these young adults, it's their first job. I have the pleasure of having 12 of them over the summer last year. 5 of them stayed on full-time through the year. They stay 3 hours after school. And we do set parameters for them. We say that you need to be a better because you could use those 3 hours to actually study if you didn't have that. And we also make sure that they're investing in themselves. And I think that that's the important piece as they start to invest, as you saw with DeMarjay Williams. And this program has 270 students or young adults this summer. And it's not that they're using them for a low wage to do things. They're actually providing them good wages at $16.25 to $18.75, which tells kids that, you can achieve, and they're getting the soft skills in life. So some of those kids have never ran a lawnmower or a floor machine or a backpack blower or any of the type of equipment that they're doing. And they have one that goes downstairs and learns how to repair bicycles, and kids have gotten jobs from that. And they also make sure that the supervisors are trained. And the amount of work that they put in to give back to our city, and that's the key, is they give back skills to young adults to actually do work in our city. And like you said in your citation, that they give back to our economy. And that's a key piece for a lot of these kids, and they learn to be around people that they've never been around in their lifetime. So when we look at this program, again, I can't thank all of you enough. Jay, I get you in the morning with my emails, and how I used to get them, and just looking at all of you smile and knowing the hard work that you all put into this, and the love that you give back to these kids when they're having a challenge. And I reach out to Heather at 3 in the morning. I send over a text or an email, and it comes back right away. And you see all the work that you guys all put into this program, and your dedication and your love for all these kids. It's amazing to have this opportunity in our city, and we can't thank you enough for everything you do. And that's why you're here tonight, is because I truly believe that you are the future of our city. You are the ones who are building our workforce. And without you, a lot of these kids would be out in the streets and have no hope, or they'd still be in their homes. And I think that all of you should really take all the credit for everything you do. And I know you don't like doing that. I can tell by when you guys are all sitting here, you didn't want to be here for the credit. You do the work behind that doesn't show your faces, but we wanted to thank you. And DeMarjay was one of yours that you actually gave him the resources to get his permit, and very shortly he'll have a driver's license, so then he'll have those skill set invested in himself to be able to go out to co-op as a carpentry student. So that's what you did for him, and you changed his life. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from any councilors? Hearing none, would anyone from Mass High would like to make a quick speech? Please.
Hello, thank you. I'm Heather Donovan. I manage and oversee the entire center and all of the programs and wonderful staff that are here behind me. And I just wanted Mayor, councilors to take a second to say thank you. Mayor Williams is one of our participants. We're very proud of him. He did us proud today. And I want to say that this opportunity that we're giving to young people is why we all show up every day. A lot of my staff work longer, answer messages when they're not on, and it's because they genuinely care. And I'm happy to see that that care is filtering down to the young people in the program. Ultimately, that's what we're aiming for, to create better people. And I always tell them that I'm hoping somebody will take my job someday, and that's our main goal. So thank you for this honor, and thank you for having us here today. We appreciate it.
What a great city and what a great meeting this is. We're going from celebrating our youth and our young adults to celebrating an organization, an event, a tournament that span 100 years in our city this weekend. I'm very honored to welcome the City Golf Tournament members and the winner. If I could ask these folks to please come to the podium to be recognized. Mr. Phil Nagel from Long Meadow, Mr. Joe Leva from Vesper Country Club, Mr. Brian Gleason from Mount Pleasant, Mr. Brian Cole from Napnasset, Mr. Rick Gillis from Mount Pleasant, Mr. Leo Sheldon from Long Meadow, Donna McMahon, President of Mount Pleasant, Kevin McLaughlin, Chairman of Napnasset, and Brian Gillis, winner from Napnasset. Please give them a hand of applause. I've been told that the winner this year holds the record for 100 years of over 100 years tournament. The winner holds a record this year. And it's a 100-year celebration and anniversary, but I understand that there were 2-3 years that the club, the City Tournament Club did not have the event, and it was due to World War II around the 1940s, 41, 42, or 43, one of those years. But it shows like the strength and the commitment of the committee from nearly 100 years ago to keep it going, even through difficult times. It's really that the organization, the City's Golf Tournament, really reflects the history and the legend of the City Flow and all the 4 golf clubs. I have 4 citations for each of the golf club. I'm going to read only one of them for tonight, and also I'm also going to introduce the winner of this year's tournament as well. This is for the committee that hosts, that put together, that plan the City's Golf Tournament. Citation: be it hereby known to all that the City Flow in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Lowell City's Golf Tournament 100th anniversary. The Lowell City's Golf Tournament began in 1923, the same year golf legend Bobby Jones won his first National Open. The City's, as it is known, is the oldest known local amateur tournament still being played in America. The tournament was conceived by the late Colin McDonald, golf writer for the Lowell Courier-Citizen. McDonald, riding under the name Or Putting Badly, along with Walter Jewett and Francis P. Walsh, convinced the area clubs to stage a 54-hole medal play tournament to determine the finest player in the Lowell area. 15 years old, Marshal Bill Forrest of Mount Pleasant won the inaugural event. Forrest is still the youngest title holder in city history. The driving force behind the tournament during the early years was Walter Jewett of Mount Pleasant. Jewett had the same impact on the cities as Clifford Rogers had on the Masters and served as the chairman of the cities from 1923 until his death in 1960. A team championship was added to the tournament in 1924. Benjamin Posner, publisher of the Lowell Sunday Telegram, donated a shield to become the permanent possession of the field of the first team to win the title 3 times. Vesper Country Club retired the shield, winning consecutive titles from 1924 through 1926. Harry Pollard of the Vesper offered a new trophy in 1927. The team championship proved to be a popular added attraction to the event. From 1923 until 1979, the teams consisted of 9 players from each club. The rosters were expanded to 12 players in 1980. Napnasset Lake Country Club was added to the original 3 clubs, Long Meadow Golf Club, Mount Pleasant Golf Club, and Vesper Country Club in 1962. The Lowell Cities Golf Tournament will continue to be one of the great traditions in the Lowell area. We proudly acknowledge the 100th anniversary of this iconic sporting event. And likewise, we send our sincere congratulations to all the members of the 4 golf clubs, Long Meadow, Napnasset, Mount Pleasant, and Vesper Country Club, for their dedication not only to this Lowell Cities tournament, but also to the same of golf. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Zachary Chow, and the entire City Council hereby offer best wishes to Lowell Cities Golf Tournament for continued success. I just want to add also, all my time being in Lowell, I have met many great players and members of different country clubs. All you guys are not only great golfers, but you're all great leaders and contributors to the entire city of Lowell through many nonprofit organizations, charities, work. You have donated so much of your time and your finance and your network, your skill experience to many of the young adults in our city as well. So I'm truly, truly honored to present this 100th anniversary citation to all of you. And before I have the council make comments, also, it is, to have the winner of the 100th anniversary tournament, I can't put my head around it. You're going to go down in history. Somebody can win on year 112 or 127. It's not going to be the same thing as winning the 100th anniversary city's tournament. So that's why I, along with the city council, we also prepare a special citation just for you as well. Official citation, be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Brandon Gillis, Napnasset Country Club, the 100th anniversary of the Lowell Cities Golf Tournament. The Lowell Cities Golf Tournament began in 1923 and is the oldest known local amateur tournament still being played in the United States. And I believe Barry Scanlon covered much of your profile in the Lowell Sun already. And I just speak off the cuff a little bit. You're a young gentleman yourself, just graduated from the University of Rhode Island, and the school did great. You competed with many wonderful universities along the East Coast, and now you're going to go back to become a coach for the university. Is that correct? Somewhat in the works. I did not mean to spill that, but congratulations and thank you for being part of this City Golf Tournament. If any questions or comments by any of the councilors? here now, golf is an entirely different game for me as well. So if I would ask a few gentlemen or folks, please, if you could introduce yourself real quick, so we get to know more about the committee.
Phil Nangle from Longmeadow.
Joe Liva, Vespa Country Club.
Rick Gillis from 2023 Team Champion Mount Pleasant.
Yes.
Kevin McLaughlin, Amnasset Lake Country Club.
Donna McMahon, Mount Pleasant 2023 Champs.
Nice.
Brian Cole from Amnasset Country Club.
Leo Sheridan from Longmeadow.
Well, Brandon, it seems like the committee are shy to make a speech. Would you like to make say a few words, being the winner?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to the committee members here. They do a great job every year with the tournament, and it's in good hands going forward. And I'm honored to be a part of such a prestigious event. So thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to ask you to come inside the chamber and we'll take the pictures. I think now the counselors have to go play a round of golf. I know that we have the public hearing coming up, but we have one more presentation. This is on Katie's Closet. I had the opportunity to meet with Ms. Cockrell earlier this evening to learn about the program, and I would like to welcome her to make a presentation on Katie's Closet. Please.
Can they see it? Okay, yeah, I see it up on your screen now. Thank you very much. My name is Mickey Cockrell. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Katie's Closet. And I wanted to be able to present to you what we've been doing in the city for the last 13 years and where we're going with that. So for those who don't know, Katie's Closet gives students in need life-changing access to clothing and basic necessities so they can thrive in school and in life. The problem we have is the rising levels of poverty exacerbated by the pandemic. Here in Massachusetts, 1 in 7 students are living in poverty, and more than 2.5 million children are homeless in the US. But right here in our own community of Lowell, we have 18,000 students, 12,000 are from low-income families. We have 1,700 kids experiencing homelessness on any given day by definition of the McKinney-Vento Act, 174 average high school dropouts per year, which costs the taxpayers exorbitantly. So what is our solution to that problem? It really is to tear away the barriers to a quality education. We have two distinct programs for doing that. One is an in-school closet program, maybe some of you have seen. We build a free store in public schools so that students who cannot afford to get what they need to go to school can get it absolutely free whenever they want, take as much as they need every day. We operate in 30 schools in Lowell. We support over 11,000 students, and we have an additional closet supporting Lowell District Office and CTI. It cost us $25,000 to build every one of those schools, but it's a gift that keeps on giving. It's there for the life of the school, but it does cost $10,000 a year to maintain it. The second critical program we operate is the SOS Urgent Response Program. So just think of it as a red bat phone. One urgent call away. 24 to 48 hours later, we can outfit a child who is suffering an extreme situation. We partner with social service agencies. We have filled 5,000 orders in the last 6 months, and this supports our unhoused kids, those transitioning to foster, our newcomer immigrants, fire victims, and survivors of trafficking and abuse. I wanted to show you a picture of some of our closets here in Lowell. So you see it in elementary school and a middle school. They're welcoming, they're bright, the clothing is hung and folded, and again, the children have the agency to choose whatever they need so that they can reflect the style that they are. You might have seen even our high school here at Lowell High, the first school we opened in 2010. How do we do that? We have a central distribution center located on the Drake at Lowell line. It's currently 10,000 square feet where we collect new and gently used clothing, and we have volunteers who come and work in these tables that you see here in order to generate all this clothing that will turn around and either go into an SOS care package or into our school closets. And you're seeing these gray bins which are full of toiletries, from deodorant to feminine care products. What is our impact? This is a survey that was taken this month. 92% of our students love or like Katie's Closet. 93% say it is important that they have access to clothing and basic necessities because it helps me with self-esteem. It helps me fit in with my peers. It prevents bullying. It helps me with anxiety and depression and health struggles. And 94% of our kids have witnessed bullying or are being bullied now. Why are kids bullied? Was the next question we had to ask. I only have 1,000 ways to tell you the way I look. What are our school partners saying? 98% would recommend Katie's Closet to other schools and colleagues. 57% bring students to the closet daily. 85% of students are identified by staff as in need. 90% of our partners say it improves attendance and behavior. 65% improve classroom interaction, and 81% say that access to clothing alleviates instances of bullying. Here's a quote from a Lowell High teacher. Students have come to me first thing in the morning asking to visit Katie's Closet smelling of the street and return looking fresh and visibly changed in their posture. I'm certain that they may not have arrived if Katie's Closet was not available to them. So here we are, serving 85,000 students in the Commonwealth through a 380-member volunteer network. We're currently operating in 125 schools. I share this with you just to share the demand, and we push out over 2.5 million units of clothing. Our SOS program is drawing 1,000 orders a month. That's 1,000 children transitioning from a stable home. Everyone helps us. So they're hosting drives, they're volunteering, they're funding the need. And in the 13 years that we have been here in Lowell, we have not asked for nor received a penny from the city. And now we're at an inflection point where we must expand. We have to move out of this 10,000 square foot building into a 20,000 square foot, maintain these closets, buy a new truck, and expand the SOS program. I do have a grant application with the ARPA funds, and I just am here to ask for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. With that said, that completes the last item under the mayor's business. Need a motion to accept and place on file by Councillor Rook, second by Councillor Yam. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. We now go on the next item on the agenda. I know we're running a bit late for a public hearing, but we'll get there in about a minute. Section 3, City Clerk, 3.1, minutes for acceptance. City Council regular meeting June 13th, City Council special meeting June 20th, fiscal year 24 budget. Need a motion to accept and place on file by Councillor Jeanette, second by Councillor Gishia. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it.
Mr.
Motion
Mayor.
carry.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Jines.
I spoke briefly with the clerk on the minutes from the Technology and Utilities Subcommittee. It looks like there was an error getting them uploaded to the website. So I'd like to hold off on approving those for this week until they can be posted for the public
Yeah.
next week.
Yes.
Yeah, those,
It's noted.
the two later ones were approved, Counselor, and I'll get the proper update for the next meeting.
Okay, I just wanted to comment out loud for the public watching. Thank you.
We now reach item 4 on the agenda. This is the utility public hearings. We'll start with 4.1. Boston Gas DBA National Grid requests installation of SCADA, S-C-A-D-A box at intersection of Bradley and First Streets. This portion is now open to all those who are in favor. Open to all those in favor, please.
Hi, good evening. My name's Diana Cuddy. We're National Grid Gas, 170 Data Drive in Waltham. I'm in favor of this petition.
Thank you.
For the installation of a 5-foot by 3-foot concrete pad and the 4-inch electrical conduit connecting it.
Sure, thank you. We'll get to the council in a minute if they have any comments or questions. Anybody else here to speak in favor? Hearing none, the portion is now closed. Now open to all those who oppose. This portion is open to all those who oppose. Hearing none, the portion is closed. Any comments or questions by any of the councilors? No comments or questions. That portion is closed. Now need a motion to refer to the Y inspector for report and recommendation by Councilor Nguyen, second by Councilor Jines. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next item is 4.2, Wave Guide First Light Fiber. Request installation of underground conduit on Appleton Street for services to Verizon. This portion is now open to all those who are in favor. Open to all those in favor. Anybody here speak in favor?
Will Brown with Waveguide, and I'm in favor.
Okay. Thank you for being here. We'll get to the council in a moment, see if they have any questions or comments. Anybody else to speak in favor? Hearing none, that portion is now closed. We're now open to all those who oppose. Open to all those who oppose. Hearing none, the portion is closed. Any comments or questions by any of the councilors? Hearing none, need a motion to refer to the Y inspector for report and recommendation by Councilor Scott, second by Councilor Yam. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. That completes the public hearing. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we now go to item 5 on the agenda. These are the communications from the city manager, and these are the motion responses. We'll start with the alphabet A. The motion response is on ARPA outline dashboard update. Any comments or questions by any of the councilors? Any comments? Councilor Jines?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to the administration for working on this, bringing this forward. I think it's very important to have this information be public and transparent and easily accessible for everybody who's curious where this money's going and how we're spending it and what we're doing to invest in the city. I look forward to seeing this go live and to be able to have conversations with the public and understand where we are on this. I think once it is live, it would be great if we could have a presentation of just a run-through of how it looks, how it works, either here or at a subcommittee meeting. But just thank you. This is a long time coming, and I appreciate seeing it here. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor does need a response tonight. Any other comments? Councilor Nguyen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report. If I could ask Mr. Flint to give us a walkthrough on the dashboard as to what has been spent and what is to be spent. And go ahead.
Mr. Flynn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm bringing the site up as we speak. It is currently live on the city's website, so anyone can actually access it at this point and see the information that's here. I don't know if there's a way we can project it onto that screen.
Looks like it's working.
There we go. Yep. So to access the dashboard, you should visit the city's website. Under Departments, scroll down to Finance, and then to the American Rescue Plan Act. The link is the very first item that you see on the page. And I'm just going to click here, and off we go. So the product we use is ClearGov, which is actually a software product that this is what they do for a living, municipal government, and representing that data to the public in very much the same fashion here. The website is broken out into 5 main sections with an overview section. There's an application section that talks about grants. The funded project section, which is sort of the meat and potatoes, which we'll probably spend a little bit more time in than the rest. An area for reports and presentations, and then some frequently asked questions. So to give some highlights, a lot of the overview information, whether it's the message from the city manager on the splash page or information about the American Rescue Plan Act itself, or any other information that people want to read about, all of that information can be found in that first section. The Apply Here section covers grants. Hang on a second. There we go. So this gives a quick summary of the current grants that are out there right now that are open, and any of the ones that are closed are highlighted in yellow as being closed. As new grant programs are launched, they will be posted here. They'll present the start and end dates for application periods. And in the subsection of each one of these is sort of it takes you to the actual page for that grant. So I chose the storefront improvement grant. And if someone wants to, they could read through it, find out whether or not they want to apply, and then they can click on a link here that would take them to the actual application page. So, and the information about applying can be found here. We'll go back up here. For the funded projects, we'll do the sort of the meat and potatoes here. This is where the information about individual projects, what's been funded, what's been obligated, all that lives in this section, which is probably where most people would like to spend their time. The multi-year plan represents everything that ARPA is going to be, that we're going to spend ARPA money on through the entirety of the program. To date, we have committed or obligated $27 million of ARPA funding to projects across the city. This graphic right below it represents the amount that's been obligated this fiscal year in 2023, next fiscal year 2024, and the following 2025. Again, as funding gets obligated, each of those years will be increased to represent how much money is being spent or per program. This here represents a list of all of the projects currently underway. There are a total of 43 active projects right now as of the end of May, and this will be updated once we complete our report to the Treasury by the end of July. So we'll update it, and as projects get launched, we will include that information here. So this should be updated on a fairly regular basis. We can scope into an individual project. So the fire apparatus project gives you some highlights about the individual expenditure itself, some details about what we're doing with that money, who's requesting it, the project number that's related to it, and that ties into the reporting we give to the Treasury. This is a map showing where the fire trucks are going to be throughout the city, as well as if we scroll further down, it tells you how much has been obligated. Everything in ClearGov is considered to be a capital expense. That's how the software works, so that's a set name for that funding. Just as the funding source itself is ARPA. So this is all ARPA funded that is being used for these vehicles. If we were going to use other funding, whether it's other grant funding or federal funding, it could be represented here, and that pie chart would look a little bit different. And then lastly, for some projects that require more detail, we have a breakdown of the different pieces of equipment being purchased and where they are actually going to. So engine 10 is being replaced at Old Ferry Road. There's going to be a ladder going to Lawrence Street and another ladder coming to the Civic Center as an example. And it just breaks out sort of out of the 9.9 million where that is broken out by apparatus cost. Moving back up to the charts and graphs. It's finicky. On the charts and other data, there's two sections here. The first one, charts, gives you an overview of the plan and the spending thus far this year. So this chart here, although it doesn't all fit on the screen, I'm sorry for that, shows you how we've been trending over the course of the life of the program. So the green in the background is what's been obligated, or purchase orders or contracts have been issued for those expenses. Orange represents cash that's actually gone out the door to pay for that, and purple represents what's been spent on a quarterly basis, so you can kind of see the trending of it. And as things move forward, obviously that hopefully will continue to grow as we plan. Further down, this tells you how the money's been broken out by spending. So we have spent $23 million thus far of ARPA money, and it is broken out into these different categories, being the fire department or the Revenue Replacement Act, Revenue Replacement Funds rather, water and sewer infrastructure improvements, et cetera. And then again, this will grow as that information changes over time. And then lastly, this is a summary of just the open purchase orders that are still out there, obligated funds yet to be spent. The other piece of this for the funded projects is the program categories. This represents a summary of what's being spent by category that we set up in the Lowell plan. So water and sewer infrastructure was one of the 10 tenets of the ARPA plan that the city presented to the council. This represents what we're spending out of that and the projects they're being spent on. So we've got $1 million for VAC-on maintenance equipment. There's the sewer line upgrade project for $500,000 and a hydro excavator for another $498,000. If you're on this page and you're interested in seeing what these projects are actually about, if you scroll back up, there are links to these projects here. So you can actually click on one of these links and it'll take you to the page that talks about that specific project request. So the Q's equipment was something that was delivered last fall. So this is something that we already have in hand, but it tells you about the project. It also allows you to actually import photos. So as we have other equipment that we can purchase, we can put that information in here so people can actually see what we're spending money on. Last but not least, I'll just talk briefly about the reports and presentations. So this section covers the reports that we provide to the Treasury, or any other reports that have potentially been made here to the City Council. So our compliance reporting, this is required every 30 days. And there's a summary here that brings you to a PDF that you can download. The latest report, which we just finished recently, was 57 pages. And I only expect that to continue to grow. Presentations, this is a sort of where our repository for the presentations that we made back in October. But if there's any other presentations that we will make to the council or elsewhere, it can be stored here as well. And then the last one is just commonly asked questions about the process or about eligibility, timing, et cetera. But this, in a nutshell, is the dashboard. Again, it is up live on the city's website in the ARPA page under the Finance Department. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
I want to thank Mr. Flint for a beautiful presentation, not just for this council, but for the audience at home as well. So those who want to check out, have questions pertaining to how the ARPA money being spent and what to be spent on in the future, they can check on the website, I guess. So if any issue related to the use, how much is being spent for the water and sewer, or how much being spent for homeless issues, they can go and check it out. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. Quick question. Can we get like would it be possible to add a quick link directly to it from the city's main landing page? Would that be something? Because I think this is going to be something a lot of people are going to try to find to navigate from the ARPA tab and all that. But if we could get some kind of maybe logo that right on the city's landing page, if they're looking for ARPA, click ARPA, and it takes you to this. And I'd just like to say, what a wonderful tool. This is something that I know my colleagues have been talking about for quite some time, and I'm glad to see it's finally live, finally online, and full of relevant information, because it's tough to tell people all of the different areas that ARPA's been going. So thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council, that's an idea. We can bring it to MIS to make sure. There's a lot of discussions on how much we can put on that front page, but I think that's something we possibly could do. And to Mr. Flynn and his team, he was working for quite some time as the lone wolf, I guess, for some time. From the administration standpoint, I want to say thank you very much. But if we could look at that, to see if we could speak with Mr. Fernandez to see if that could live on the front page. I think that's a great idea for people to get to. But once again, now that you're up and running with I believe a full staff, we're almost there.
We have a full staff.
Full staff, okay.
Yep.
I just want to say from the administration standpoint, sir, what a great job you've done with this, and thank you for keeping us up to date with this. Councilor, that's a great idea, and we'll try to get that accomplished.
Absolutely.
Councilor Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also just like to echo what a great job you did on this. When I made the motion to develop the dashboard, I did not expect necessarily that it was going to be this in-depth, and I just think this is incredible. It just really dials way down to the level, showing the locations of all the purchases and everything. So this is just great work, and I just want to make sure I said that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have the same comment as Councillor Robinson's, because before the meeting today, I was trying to search the ARPA and I could not find it. Finally, I found it under the department. So if we could have a link on the front page that say ARPA, you click on that, it go to the department. That would be helpful for a regular resident who would want to know about the ARPA project. So that's the same sentiment that I have. Thank you.
Councilor Janess?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to echo the thanks to Mr. Flynn and all your staff, and I'm sure MIS was involved, so thank you to Moran and his staff. It's really great. I think it looks awesome, and I look forward to spending some time clicking around and learning a little bit myself. I'd like to ask the manager if this is something maybe we could push a link out on social media, just to let people know that this is up. I know it's a question we've all received, so I know there's some folks out in the community who'd like to see this. So if we can let them know, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
No other. Councilor Kishia?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Flynn, I want to thank you also. Transparency in government is an important piece, and I do think that this is going to give everybody an opportunity to look and see exactly in real time where this money is going. So I want to thank you and your staff. And Mr. Manager, thank you for your leadership in getting this put together. Thank you.
No other comments. By the way, thank you for joining us, Councilor Leahy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
He was on
city stuff.
He was on the mayor's time.
Before we go to the next motion response, there's an item here that we have a registered speaker for on the Girls Inc. I need a motion to take item, I believe it's 6.4 out of order by Councilor Scott. A second by Councilor Yam. 6.4, it is a vote, Girls Inc. CPC funding recommendation.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Rook.
we have multiple people just on this. Why don't we just go 6.1 through 6.7? Mr. Becky is here as well. I'm sure he can go
There are other
forward.
people, okay. All CPA, all right, okay, that's good suggestion, Councilor Rook. So we'll take item 6, all the votes, city manager's vote, 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, 6.6, 6.7. Is that just that's it? Okay, let's just the vote, the motion to take it out of order and bundle it by Councilor Scott, second by Councilor Yam. I'm going to just read the votes right through, and if any of the members from any of these organizations would like to speak, we'll call on you after, or if we might just go to the vote in favor. 6.1, a vote to approve the 2024 Community Preservation Fund budget. Wait for reading and second reading by title. Mr. Clerk? Okay. Right, 6.2, vote amending prior order approving CPC recommendation to fund the preservation of Rowley's Farm. 6.3, vote 635 Middlesex CPC funding recommendation. 6.4, vote Girls Inc. CPC funding recommendation. 6.5, vote Hadley House CPC funding recommendation. 6.6, vote St. George's Church CPC funding recommendation. And 6.7, vote O'Donnell Park CPC funding recommendation. Anyone? Which one, Mr. Clerk?
Registered speaker on number 6.4, Bopa Malone.
Good evening. Thank you so much. I'm Bopa Malone. First of all, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, and all of the counselors for the good work that you do. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate this opportunity to come before you to share a bit about our important work at Girls Inc. and our Connect Stronger Together expansion, and why it's crucial for you and the city to be a part of this important effort. Girls Inc. of Lowell has been in existence since 1917. We've always been a part of downtown Worthen Street Historical District, located at 220 Worthen Street. Worthen Street holds significance in its history to Lowell, and similarly, so does Girls Inc. of Greater Lowell. Our site is one of the 6 founding affiliates to the Girls Inc. national program, and our programming has evolved over the last 100 years. But we have constantly stayed true to our mission of inspiring girls to be strong, smart, and bold. I'm an alum of Girls Inc., and I'm a product of how this program works, of how good mentorship and resources can change a girl's life. From a war-torn country with trauma to a girl that grows up to be a leader in her community as well. And it's an honor for me to come full circle to be ED of this wonderful organization and to stand here before you to advocate for this organization and ask you to vote in favor of our expansion. As you know as well, mental health is one of the #1 issues nationally. It's #1 here in our community in Lowell as well, according to the Greater Lowell Health Alliance. And more than ever, our girls, especially girls of color, need support and need a beacon of hope to be at. And that's what Girls Inc. provide. With your support, we will be able to expand our programming. We'll be able to add more space. And as you also know, in Massachusetts, childcare is one of the most expensive expenses in a family. And in order for families to evolve and be able to change their lives, they have to be able to go to work and to be able to have a safe place for their child. And our place is not just a child care. Am I running out of time? I apologize. It's not just, our place is not just a child care, but we provide research-based programming where girls learn about STEM and girls are inspired to be strong, smart, and bold. Again, I really appreciate all of the good work that you do. I appreciate your support in the past, and I'm here to ask you for continued support in order to help our new generation of girls to be stronger, smarter, and bolder. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Malone. Any comments or questions? Councilor Rook?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Councilor Rook, second by Councilor Robinson. Any other? Mr. Clerk, please roll call.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yem.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Councilor Getchia.
Yes.
Councilor Janess.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia. Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
That's 11 yeas.
Congratulations to all the organizations that's on the agenda for the vote this evening.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Clerk, do we have any other items that have speaker here in the chamber?
I have no other registered speakers.
5-1.
5-1. Did somebody say something? Councilor Rook?
Sorry, 5-2.
5-2.
Just, also, I was gonna.
Okay, motion by Councilor Rourke to take item 5.2 out of order, second by Councilor Robinson. 5.2 is the information report, updated school invoices. Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, you're going to need a motion to remove that item from the table as it was placed on the table at the last meeting. So we need a motion to remove it from the table with a roll call, and it's non-debatable.
Motion to remove.
Motion to remove by Councilor Leahy, second by Councilor Dinesh. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Scott?
Yes.
Councilor Yum?
Yes.
Mayor Chow?
Yes.
Councilor Drinkwater?
Yes.
Councilor Getchia?
Yes.
Councilor Janness?
Yes.
Councilor Leahy?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia? Councilor Noon?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Rourke?
Yes.
11 yeas.
Any discussion, any comments or questions on this? Councilor Getchia?
Thank you, Mayor Chow. Through you to the city solicitor, as I read through this, one of them stands out. The rest I don't see an issue with. But the Brzezinski transportation of the $110,000. I mean, $110,000 respectfully. It says emergency services were needed. The emergency services happened over an 8-month period. Could you, knowing 30B, could you tell us if it would be appropriate to vote on this tonight? Because to me, it's a violation of 30B, and you guys should have met on this and seeked other rulings on this. But through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city solicitor, could you give us an opinion on whether we should be voting this or pulling this out?
Through Mr. Manager to the city solicitor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So with this particular issue that is before us, under 30B, Section 17A does specifically state that a government body or a government entity such as the City of Lowell is not to make any payments for services that occur prior to a contract being executed. And in this situation, that is the timeline, that is the sequence of events. So it would be my recommendation at this point that the City Council not vote on this particular issue.
Because we don't have a contract in place and it went over the thresholds. And that's my concern, is putting this council voting for something that violates 30B, in my opinion. And maybe it doesn't, but I think that we should pull it out because of the length of the time of the expenditures and the 30B procurement process. So I would ask that, I would make a motion to remove the $110,204 out of this request and take a vote on the rest of the unpaid bills.
Second.
Second by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Rourke?
So can I just ask what happens then? Like, is the city still facing a lawsuit if it's not paid?
Mr. Solicitor?
I mean, I can't predict the future. I'm not sure what would happen from an outside vendor. I have no idea, what direction they would go in. But I think
I don't disagree with the solicitor's opinion on it, but just being familiar with this issue in the past, if the city doesn't vote to pay the bills, we are liable. Is that correct?
I think one of the options that could be explored from the outside vendor would be to file a lawsuit against the city.
Any other comments or questions by the councilor? Councilor Getchia?
Just to clarify what Councilor Rook said, under Chapter 30B, if something is procured improperly or not procured, it's the responsibility of the person who provides the service. So that's what the gray area is right now. Whose responsibility is this and why is it? I'm not even sure that we procured transportation for next year yet. And the point is that here we are, we had something that was a long-term procurement. We have procurement laws for a reason, so that we get the best dollar figure, and also that we procure contracts in between and give everybody a fair opportunity to this. This was not done in this case. And you could put the city in liability by paying this. Just because no one picked up on it before doesn't mean it's the right way of doing it. The law clearly states that there's certain ways of procuring services, and everybody should have the opportunity to the service. It was never posted as a RFP or anything to go out for bids, so it wasn't a fair procurement, and that's the questions that need to be answered.
Any other comments or questions before I turn to the CFO from the school to make a comment on this? Councilor Scott. Before, I'm going to ask the CFO, Ms. Turner from the school, is here to speak on this matter. I know that we're going to do a roll call on the motion on the floor, but I will not support that motion on the floor to take it, to remove this item, because I believe that the CFO from the school, and before you present it, I'm sure you look into the matter, you certified it, and we also have the CFO on the city side who look at it as well. I'm sure that everything is legal, but I'm not an accountant and I'm not a lawyer either. So, but since you're here, if you could explain to us what it's all about and whether it's why we should vote for it today.
There are conflicting laws. So, for instance, we have homeless laws, the McKinney-Vento, that demand that we service a child the day after they're placed in a homeless shelter. So we cannot go out to bid sometimes for unknown students. What we have been working with is the city CFO to try to go out to bid to get a per rate. I mean, like a per mile rate. But even then, when we do go out for a per mile rate, what ends up happening is if the buses are filled and that particular vendor that was going to provide the service for us or the transportation may have a full busload at that point. So we do face these conflicting situations where if a homeless child is placed and we have to get services for them right away, transportation services, or if a DSS child is placed that we did not know in advance, we can't go out to bid for that. We have brought this to DESE's attention because special ed services are exempt from Chapter 30B, but homeless transportation is not considered special ed. It's considered regular ed, so it does fall under Chapter 30B. So you're absolutely right, Councilor Getchier. This is one of those situations where our hands are tied. We did make several attempts working with previous solicitors to come up with what should we do in a case like this because our hands are tied. So I can reach out to Solicitor Williams and see if you and I can come up with a possible solution because I don't know which law to follow right now. The one that tells me that I have to transport a child the next day or the one that we go out to bid. So if we could possibly meet and come up with a solution so that it works for all involved.
Before I go to Councilor Getchier, the CFO is asking for the opinion of the solicitor. Mr. Solicitor?
Yeah, so after hearing the conversation, after what we've already sort of discussed, my opinion would be to go into executive session to discuss this further before things go too far and go beyond the scope of what I think would be appropriate for us to talk about at this point.
Councilor Getchier?
I do have one more statement based off of what was just said. If we know there's a water main break, a possibility of it, we procure those services or we go out for bid on those contracts prior to the year starting. Even though we don't use that contract, we go out to bid for that. That's how you procure these things. And it doesn't take 10 months to procure. You can certainly go out and use somebody for 1 month while you're contracting it, while you're bidding out. And that's the process that I was told by the IG today. Because I did call and ask that because of your emergency piece. I said, is it okay? And I'm not going to certainly put up my procurement licensing and certifications for voting on something that absolutely can be done prior to July 1st. So you could already have bid out for next year's services and had someone there, and even if the service is not rendered, you still could have the contract in place. It doesn't mean because you have a contract in place, you have to spend on it. And that's what was told again today. So the process that was used is somebody, I don't know who in the school department, went out and got this company. They handpicked them somewhere. How, I don't know, but they didn't give anybody the opportunity to actually bid. And that's what the problem comes down to. It's a fair process when we open up for the biddings. So that's what I'm saying to you is I can't pay this because somebody knew that they were going over every threshold that's violated in the procurement laws. And that's my only concern going. I don't know what the liability, there's probably none to the rest of the members of the council, but I wouldn't suggest ever doing this. So if we know through the years that we had to pick up a child, we should procure these services prior to the start of the school year, just in case it happens. And I do understand you're just the person who spends and somebody else is supposed to give you these things, but at the end of the day, I think it would be wise to do exactly what the solicitor said, send it back to him and go from there. That's why I made the motion to pull it out so that it could have more of a discussion somewhere else.
Councilor Gish, are you amending the motion to refer it to the executive session on that specific line item, or just remove it completely?
I still would, I was removing it to go wherever it goes. It's not something I don't think you need a motion to do. I was just saying I have no problem with paying the other bills. This bill should be pulled out, and whatever the manager or the city solicitor thinks should go with it is okay by, I would think, anybody.
Okay, well, I think just for clarity, the motion on the floor is to remove this one item. The amount of is 110,204. Is that correct, Mr. Clerk?
That's correct.
110 just to remove it. And Councilor Gish, again, is that remove and refer, or just to remove it?
They can. I'll remove it and refer if
Remove it
everyone
for
in
the
the council is okay.
committee. And for clarity, if it does not pass, then we are going to vote on the vote which is on the agenda. Is that correct, Mr. Clerk?
Either way, if it passes, you vote on the full amount. If it doesn't pass, you vote on the amount minus the 110.
Right, I thought last time, Mr. Mayor, Council Leahy had asked that the auditor, the solicitor, and the CFO of the schools meet before this came forward, so I don't know why we're back here and they didn't listen to what Council Leahy said last time. So here we are again, back in the same position of doing the same thing. And correct me if I'm wrong, Council Leahy, I thought that's what you had said.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilor Gish. Was that seconded by Councilor Robinson earlier?
It was.
Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yem.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
No.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Councilor Getchia.
Yes.
Councilor Janess.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Mercier. Councilor Noon.
No.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Motion passes. Now, the vote will be to approve the bad bills with the exception of the 110,204.
It's a motion by Councilor Nguyen, second by Councilor Scott. Any comments or questions? Councilor Rourke?
So I know we just voted on, but I guess for asking the solicitor or the manager, we expect that at our next meeting, we'll be discussing this in executive session?
Just that one line item that was removed today in the executive session. And we probably need to schedule that as soon as possible, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you.
On the motion on the agenda.
That's the vote. Vote as amended.
Okay. Did you change the amendment already?
No, just read that.
Okay. City of Lowell and City Council vote to approve the payment of unpaid invoices from prior fiscal years for the school department as amended, and that was by Councilor Nguyen, second by Councilor Scott. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yem.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Councilor Getchia.
Yes.
Councilor Janess.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Mercier. Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
11 yeas.
Thank you, Ms. Turner, for being here. We on the taking motion out of or items out of order. Any other items that the body wish to take out of order? Hearing none, we now return to where we left off on the agenda. That is in the motion responses. We completed motion response A already. We now go to the second one, which is the motion response B on election schedule. Councilor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Pappas, for the schedule. I just wish that we knew it before and come before the last Tuesday, but everything's good, and I saw this election schedule is online now. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank Moran for that. He got it up for us.
Oh, thank you. All right. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none. Okay, we'll go to the next motion response. The alphabet C on streeteries officer presence. Any comments or questions? I don't see them making the motion here. Councilor Scott?
Sorry, just a quick question, I guess for the mayor, the manager. As far as the officer's presence, I've been downtown twice, out for dinner, approached in the dark at night at my vehicle. Are there any, I don't know if Chief Hudon could speculate on this, speak on this, but are there any rules around that as far as solicitation at night, like approaching vehicles?
Chief?
As long as they're not in the roadway causing a hazard, they can be present.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. To the chief, through you to the chief. Are they supposed to solicit, though? I mean, maybe it's different in every city, but when you go into Boston to the ball games or something, everybody's sitting there and they have a cup out. But in Lowell, it seems like they walk right up to you and ask you for money and yell at you if you don't have any. So is there a difference? They're not supposed to speak?
So this was kind of brought up with panhandling versus aggressive panhandling.
Sure.
You know, it really is situationally dependent. You can't tell people they can't ask for money. However, if they are aggressive and intimidating, it may cross another threshold, which the officers can address.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. Again, with this, I've seen some other communities in the ordinances that they've passed and is enforced. Some communities say, yeah, obviously you cannot silence somebody's requests for that, but some communities say nonverbal requests, so you could hold a sign, because that way you still have the opportunity to identify yourself, how you identify. You can also ask any ask that you might be trying to make through signage. Where it can be done, it's another piece. 20 feet from a ATM due to public safety issues, 10 feet from a public entrance or exit. There's a lot of pieces that other communities are doing that's tried and true. And, it's getting to the point where the business owners, and I frequent a lot of the downtown businesses, and we really need to wrap our arms around them and help, because I think this is a great start. I think the high visibility aspect, I've seen it myself. And pretty much as soon as you started, I've seen a significant increase, and I think the residents are starting to see that and appreciate that too. I've seen on social media. But I think my colleagues and I in this administration need to also provide you and your team with the tools to enforce some of this stuff that we're talking about. And with the streeteries, again, I mean, I've seen it firsthand where we have some people that are soliciting for funds or whatever, verbally, and when they're told, I'm sorry, I don't have anything, get overly aggressive. And it's turning into a nightmare. One of the business owners downtown is actually looking at potentially a fourth business owned, 3 in the city already owned, and he's considering elsewhere for a fourth. So I'm going to be definitely paying close attention to what we do with this situation, because it's something that we keep turning a blind eye and we're going to have a ghost town. But I do applaud the high visibility, the foot patrols, and the willingness of the department willing to work with the community and the council. So thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this motion response? Hearing none, thank you, Chief, for being here.
Thank you.
The next motion response is the alphabet D on VFW Highway. Any other comments? VFW Highway, Councilor Rook.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the response is fine, but just a quick question. So we're on VFW Highway, and it breaks off to Varnum Ave. There was work done over there, I believe, last summer, and there's an island that was there that was very nicely kept prior, and now it's just a sand lot. I know that people have reached out, in context to it, but before the work was done, it was built up and had flowers and so forth. Now it's just a flat sand lot with a couple of weeds sticking out of it. I know it's the construction company's job to place it exactly what it was before they started the job site. So I guess my question would be is, when final payment is made by the city to the site or the company, how do we go about inspecting to make sure that the road, the street, the areas around it look the same as they did before it started.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council, typically we would hold anything back if something wasn't put back to the way it was previously. I was a little lost on that spot, but now I know exactly we were talking between Bonham Ave and the VFW Highway. So if we could, Mr. Duchesne, if you could reach out to those folks, because they did use that as a laydown area. If we could possibly bring it back, I think that would be the answer prior to closing out there.
Yes, Manager Golder. We have been in contact with the woman who has maintained that island, and it is going to be restored at the end of the project. We hold a retainage fee from the contractor so that they complete everything that's required of them.
Do we, sorry, Mr. Mayor, through to the council, do we have an idea when the finished product will come, or are we still waiting on that information?
The MassDOT sent comments. This last part of this project, this has been a decades-long project. This is the 5th part of it. MassDOT sent comments on June 6th. This is a very intrinsic part that they're going to be doing. It's called steel ramming, whereas it's going to be trenchless technology, and they ram these steel guides through, and then they feed the mine through. So MassDOT has a lot of questions on dewatering and what the different materials are and how the subcontractor is going to do it. They had the subcontractors because it's very specialized. So when we get the final permit approval, we're looking at 6 to 8 weeks for the project to be complete.
Any other comments on
And just
VFW?
maybe, Mr. Mayor, I know
Mr. Wood?
that the residents, the 2 residents, I believe, that are right in front of it, that Mr. Duchesne talked about, that they kept the property up. I think if you just kept abreast of it, if you need information, I can certainly pass it along to you.
Yeah, we've spoken with her twice already.
Thank you.
Counselor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Duchesne. Any comment? Mr. Robinson?
So I would just like to ask, what is the pretty much anticipated ballpark time frame? Are we looking before winter? This should be finished surfaced?
I'm hoping, but it's all dependent on when the subcontractor returns remarks to MassDOT and they give us our final approval. MassDOT, sometimes it takes a long time to get any information from them.
Any other comments? Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Duchesne, for being here. The next motion responds to Alphabet E on Western Avenue Studios. Any comments, questions by any councilor? Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. Thank you for this. You know, I've been in contact with Western Ave. I know the administration had a team go over. Assistant City Manager Machado, Mr. Baldwin, the entire team, and this is great. It's great to see. I love some of the vision and the ideas that are being bounced around internally about potential mid and long-term solutions and updates on this. You know, the greening of the wall space, the potential coverage of walkways, and they are a huge draw to our community, and I think anything that we can do to work with this organization and this group of people and artists, and it's phenomenal. It's long overdue. It's kind of a hidden gem off the beaten path, so I appreciate all this work. Thank you.
Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to that Western Ave. I've been spoken with Assistant City Manager Mr. Machado. I spoke with Mr. Mayor and the Chief of Police regarding the Western Ave. The tenant resident who lived there, the artists who lived there, were concerned about the homelessness, and I know the report addressed that, and the city had been on top of it. The only immediate request that I would ask is that if we could, you know, the overgrown, and we have weed that are growing, so as we all talked about, this is the face of the city. From artists from around Boston area come to Western Ave. So we want to put a best face forward for the city, for all the artists who are coming to the Western Ave studio. I was contacted by a new artist who moved into the Western Ave studio as a result of recommendation from the Chamber of Commerce. So we want to meet with them and then introduce them and welcome them to the city of Lowell. So that's my immediate right away. I would request that we will treat the weed and cutting the the overgrown shrub as you come from School Street onto Western Ave. And other things we can do as a short-term, long-term, as reported here. That's great, and I hope that it will be done, not just a report and put it on the shelf afterwards. So that which is my my request, immediate request. So thank you.
Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. Thank you for the report. I just was hoping we'd be a little bit more aggressive on this. We've had different DPW people, different managers, different staff. We really need to be more aggressive with this, and I agree with what Councilor Yem said. If we could get that road, Mr. Manager, on the paving list this year, it's way overdue for paving. The sidewalk's a mess, it's overgrown. You know, it's a gem that we have in the city here, and if we've been trying to get that cleaned up for 5 years now, and it's all different, again, as I said, all different department heads, all different stories, all different excuses. So that road needs to be cleaned up, paved. The building owners need to be accountable for their own buildings. The sidewalk needs to be cleaned up. It says in the report that, you know, the Stocklosa kids are going over there, and we'll let the police know. I mean, if the kids are going over there, it needs to be fixed up. We can't have it run down, and it looks like you know, and by the time you get down there, you're not sure where you're going because the road looks abandoned. So if we could get a report back on how aggressive we could be with cleaning that up, even if we do what we're doing, remilling the road, something. So if we could just get another report on this, on what we could do in the short term, just to make sure that it's cleaned up. Thank you.
Councilor Nguyen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report, Mr. Managers. Given that we have new owners who hasn't been around for a while for that Western Studio, the whole building, right? I think I concur with my colleague that is we sit down with them, those team, and you know, work in partnership and improve the area. You know, and the report is concerning a little bit, and the facts that, you know, we have the increase in homeless encampment in the area, and the vacancies that they have there. Maybe sit down with the new owners and what plan they have, and say what we can offer to help in terms of improve that fast, you know, as soon as possible. So, thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Councilors, thank you very much, and to Councilor Robinson and Councilor Yem, of course. We walked that area ourselves, taking a look to see what needed to happen. And I think that Mr. Crew, with Case, we have some exciting ways to make that entranceway a little bit more vibrant. I think that's kind of the word that everybody's been looking for, an exciting entranceway where people are welcomed into an artist area. So that is one thing. I know that we've been talking to Commissioner St. Cyr to get that cleaning, get that pulled back in that area. And I know that Mr. Crew, I'm sure, could talk a few things through about how to, I know we discussed painting some murals along the School Street Bridge just to say we're entering an artist area. So that's kind of a few things. I'd like to just kick it over to Mr. Crew and just some of those ideas we're discussing, and especially the ideas in the report, just by adding the quality with green walls and just trying to change it up. But I can tell you, Councilor Leahy, from the discussion that you were just asking, we will be having that cleaned up within the next few weeks. It's a little difficult at times with some of the vacations that are happening right now, but this is something that we have been focusing on. The mill and overlay, that's a great idea. We could look over to engineering to see if it's something that we can do. But typically, one of our concerns, especially going down a street like that, is where is the gas company with this? What will we be doing? So I can get back to the council on that to find out where we are with, is that on their next year's project? And if it's not, to the will of the council, maybe that's something we can do. But I think in the immediate, cleaning it up through DPW, that once again, I know that Commissioner St. Cyr has been scheduling to happen, and then maybe looking at some of our artists in the area with Mr. Crew to really kick up the vibrancy in the area on the School Street Bridge, welcome everyone into that area. Mr. Crew?
Yeah, exactly. I think where CASE can help facilitate this is exactly in things like that. The Western Ave team hadn't been thinking in terms of using the public art ARPA program that's open right now as an opportunity to do something like that. They were really intrigued by that idea, and I think are interested in really utilizing the talent that they have there, working with us and working with DPD on sort of the technical side of how to do it and what the specs need to be, because obviously that is still an industrial area. Tractor trailers and trucks come down there, so the arch needs to be large enough to accommodate sort of industrial vehicles as well. But there's plenty of talent over at Western Ave for them to really take ownership of that project and really design something that's unique to the neighborhood. And we're happy to help them facilitate that and sort of also remind them too of when the deadlines are if they want to engage with that. I think some of the longer term things, I had reached out to the the DPD team and the planners, Jess Wilson and Giovanni's team over there really have a lot of great and exciting ideas and things that they're sort of percolating on over there. Those are bigger than CASE and are going to need the involvement, obviously, of DVD and the entire city team to do, but they're already sort of percolating on that. So hopefully this is just a stepping stone.
Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. Thank you to the whole team. And just for clarification, one of the things that I'm really happy about is when this was brought to my attention by, I believe it's the woman in charge of managing Western Ave for the most part. I mentioned it. We had the conversation. I put the motion forward. I was glad to see the administration go down, walk it. So this isn't just he say, she say, or third-hand information. Like physically, bodies were down there. Physically, bodies saw the site. Physically, bodies had the conversation with the people like Mr. Mott, Jim Grace, Hope Green, the team from Western Ave. So this report wasn't just kind of pulled out of thin air. I appreciate my colleague trying to expedite some of the major issues such as the roadway, but this isn't really a concerning report to me. I see it more so, this is what happens when a situation is identified and action is taken. And I appreciate the forward thinking on CASE and DPD's part because, again, I think we're all in agreement. This is a hidden gem, and anything we can do to really make this gem shine, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this motion response? Thank you, Peter, for being here. We now go to the next motion response, the alphabet F, on employee CDL licensure. Any comments, questions? Councilor Robinson?
Yes, thank you. I have a few questions here. So with the employees that haven't had the licenses through the time frame, A, has that been addressed yet? Are we offering an alternative rate of pay for employees that don't have the licensure? Because, I mean, I don't see how we're compensating people at the rate of pay that they don't even hold the license for. It should be, this is what the job pays, but until you get this license, this is what you're going to be paid. In addition to the round of raises that just went out, were any employees that don't currently hold the licensure for the positions they're in compensated with these raises as well?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. If folks had a CDL license or a specialty license, that's when they received an additional dollar figure. So that did not happen. Mr. Commissioner, I know that we have discussed the number of people that we have who took positions and they may not have their, I'm using CDL as the example, Councilor, they may not have the CDL but are working towards it. So I think when they were hired, Councilor, to answer your question, they were hired to get their license within a year of time. In that, I'm not sure, Commissioner, if you have the numbers on who has accomplished that or how many people have accomplished that and how many people at this time have not. Is that the, Council, is that the question?
Yeah, and a lot of this is CBA negotiated, so that's my concern is I know we've had employees in positions that require licensure for way over a year. And what steps are we taking? Because these are policies. Again, we've negotiated policies, both sides, that we found a compromise middle ground agreement to. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what are we doing to enforce our own policies in this area specifically, and are we compensating people at a rate of pay when they don't even meet the requirements to be compensated?
Mr. Manager?
So once again, maybe they are not paid or shouldn't be paid if they do not appropriately have the licenses, the licensing, and especially in this the last round, where if there was an individual, they were paid commensurate with what license they had or what specialty they had. I'd be interested to know if there was a foul up or a missed piece, but it is not the intent that, for instance, if you have a CDL, you'd get that additional bump in your pay. If you do not have that CDL or that hoisting license, you do not receive that bump in pay.
So,
We have. I'm sorry.
I understand that's the way that this was rolled out, but my question is, did we physically check, do you have the license, or did we just go through a list of people that hold positions with the license? Because
Mr.
that's
Macho?
where the problem lies.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Yes, we did physically check. There is a list of employees, A through Z, names, which license they hold, is it valid, and then so on and so forth. However, I would want to say I'd caution, we did miss one person that didn't receive the additional bump because somebody hit a Y instead of an N, to be honest with you, or a yes or a no in regards to licensing. I hope that answers your question, Council.
And then the other pay I was speaking of, if an employee is hired into a position requiring a CDL, are we compensating them at that rate of pay that the position of an employee with the CDL would be compensated at? So there is an alternative rate of pay?
Correct. Correct. So we're right in the process of that right now, Counselor, where we have 3 people that are being onboarded, but we're also scheduling their CDL classes into July. And so until that time and they pass the course, they get through the testing and all of that, they would not be receiving the premium for the CDL license.
But see, I think everyone's bringing in the premium pay. That's not what we're talking about. Not the additional 3 and 4. That was, I'm saying the rate of pay. When you post a job position, MEO 1 requires a Class B CDL. It pays this much money. This is the range, step grid, the range.
Correct.
If you don't possess a CDL, how are we compensated within that pay range? Because in order to be compensated at that rate of pay, you have to have a CDL. So now, 2 employees are hired. One employee has the CDL in hand, the other employee does not. We're paying them identical wages. You see what I'm saying
Mr.
now?
Manager can answer that, Mr. Manager?
Council, I understand, I think. So taking the example of going up from an MEO 1 to an MEO 3, you should have that license for the CDL. Is that because we give our current employees the opportunity to get it within, I believe it's 6 months, Commissioner, or a year. We were part and parcel in years past to not having the appropriate equipment available for testing, and now we started obviously paying to get CDLs. So I think your question is, are we paying the same rate? If you and I were both MEO 3s, I don't have my CDL, you do. I think the question is, are you paying me the same as you?
And we are during that 6 months.
During that
period.
6-month probationary period. Strike that, not probationary period.
Yep.
For the time frame that I am going to get my CDL license. So the answer to your question is yes. You have your CDL, and I'm assuming MEO 3. I'm a new MEO 3. I have 6 months to a year to get my CDL. You and I are making the same amount of money. That would be correct, Counselor.
Okay, so that would be a concern of mine, and that's what I was talking about. Because, for example, winter operations, somebody with a MEO 3 rating is going to be required to operate heavy equipment during winter operations.
Right.
Somebody without the licensure, you can't ask to operate that equipment, but yet you're still being compensated the same. And that's where I think some of this might need to be taken a look at and maybe worked out with the different bargaining units.
Well, I apologize. It might help clear some of this up and belay some of your fears. So with 24 employees at Middlesex Street, for instance, right now, 23 of them have CDLs, and one is actually retiring. The one that doesn't is retiring June 30th. So then, in this case, using Middlesex as an example, it would just be the 3 that are being onboarded, and we're hoping to have them in place with CDLs prior to winter. Certainly, that's the goal.
Okay, thank
Councilor
you.
Robinson? Councilor Kishia?
Thank you, Mayor Child. Through you to the Commissioner. Obviously, hiring is a tough position right now, and we need to figure out how, and maybe you guys have figured out how you hire somebody, but there has to be a time frame within that your expectation is that they get their CDL licenses. And whether you pay them the low end because of the contract doesn't allow you to pay anything but that for a certain position. My question goes down to, if somebody doesn't get their, let me just backtrack for 1 second. In this memo, it says in 2022, out of 11 employees that were hired, only 3 actually got their licensing. So that's only 27%. So there's still 8 people out there within, I don't know, at least 6 months, but they could be well over that based off of just the 2022 number. My concern is that, are we keeping employees longer than their time frame, which I'm not sold either way on that because I don't really know the background to it, but do we extend their probation period because of they're not getting licenses, or do they become permanent employees? So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I got a good employee, they just can't pass a license the first couple times. It happens. It happens all the way through this. But we shouldn't be moving them up a step, whether they're a year or not. So they shouldn't be required to any step raises or anything. And they shouldn't be, and I would think that in the process, and maybe this is something that needs to be done, I don't know, but they should continue that probation because that has to be in agreement with the union. Once an employee is there 6 months and you don't have an extension of probation, now you own them. Whether you believe that or not, now you get into legalities of unions and stuff. That's where my concern is that we're not really giving anybody any incentive to move past keep taking a test. Okay, I pay whatever it is, $50, $100 to take the test, but I keep failing, so the city's not gaining. They may be gaining a laborer, but we really need a CDL, someone to go off on their own. So through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Commissioner, is that the case? Do we extend people's probation, or do they automatically get put into the permanent, and are they getting step raises when they don't have the licenses?
Yeah, so I guess in this particular case, I mean, there's been a lot of traction with people getting on board. I mean, there's certainly the incentive with the pay that's associated with it. And so I think the number speaks for itself, where 23 of 24 have it. And so we're not waiting for anyone there. It's really just these new employees. And in the case of the Parks Department, we have 28 employees. In that case, there are 21 with their CDLs, and the remaining number, actually, it's not part of their job description. It's not something that they'd be looking to fill, or they're not getting that premium pay.
So you didn't answer my question. My question is that out of the people that don't get their license within their probation time, are they extended through and get their step raises, even though they're not in? Because in here, and again, I'm just reading the numbers that are here. I don't know if, what the number is that's correct. It says 3 out of 11 have their licenses from 2022. So that doesn't meet the number that you're saying to me, unless the DPW branch is much, much bigger than just the division that you're seeing, which I do believe it is.
Yep.
So there's still 8 people out there as a delta somewhere. Are they getting their increase? And I think maybe we're belaboring this much further than it needs to be. On my end, it just comes down to, I think that if we're looking at this and then we go out and spend, the other thing that I would really caution the manager on is, right now I can read in here, it says enrollment employees in a CDL educational program. How much does it cost for that program?
It's about $4,000 per student.
Okay, so we're paying $4,000 per student. Is there a clause in the contract that says each person has to stay a certain period of time after getting that license? Because to me, if I'm going to upfront $4,000, there should be some buyback, and if there isn't, then there should be some holdback on whether it's a payout or somewhere. So we could be training people, using as a training ground, paying $4,000, and the week after, they could just be jumping to some other city in town. And that's what I guess my question is there language in that contract that, through you, Mr. Mayor, the manager?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. That would be something, council, that we would potentially discuss at the bargaining table this coming year. But at the same time, we're trying to move forward with CDL licensing for this time frame. It's something that I don't believe we've had in the past, or we've had real challenges at. We need these employees right now with their CDL licenses. And I think what the council had done from last year's budget in allowing us to appropriately increase those dollar figures, I think that's keeping people here. But that is something that we would be bargaining in the future, that because of the 3-year contract that we're still under right now.
See, I think this is an opportunity for a side letter, because what's happening here is, at the time, they have the same interest as we have in this, because the employee that's sitting there with their licenses and everything wants people to be next to them being paid the same, that have the same licensure. So in my end, I just think that the aggressive piece should be for the city to go back and make sure that we lock up language that says, if we're going to train you at hiring point, because they're still under probation.
Sure.
So there's a sign off there under probation that you can hold someone and say, look, if we're going to invest $4,000 in you, we need a commitment for whatever the term is, 2 years. And if not, we're going to prorate it down $2,000 per year, whatever the number is that gets negotiated. I just think if we're going to invest in an employee to train them, that we should have some kind of buyback in the system. I'm okay with anybody applying for another job somewhere else, but they have to understand they were trained in the city of Lowell, and the city of Lowell should recoup some of the funding for the training process if it's done within a certain time frame. And that, I'll just leave it at that. I think we just belabored this way too much, but I think it's something that we can hold more CDL and give you more bite down there if there is that clause in there. And you'll give other people in there who do have a license and are getting paid the upper hand to say, look, I have my license, that's why I get paid here. But thank you.
Any other comments on CDL? Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to echo Councilor Kachir's comment. I read the same report. It said 2022, 11 were hired and only 3 received the license. Now we in June of 2023. What happened to those 8 that did not get the license? Are they going to become a permanent employee without the license? And the second portion of the conversation discussion Councilor Kachir talked about is that the incentive to recoup the training portion that the city invests in the employee to get the license. So they are supposed, whatever the agreement between the city and the employee, 2 years you have to serve, otherwise you have to pay back the investment that the city invests in you in getting the CDL license. So that's just my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. No other comments. We now go to the next motion response, which is on the alphabet G, motion response on hiring. Any comments or questions? Councilor Kishia?
Mr. Mayor, could I make a motion to take 10.2 out of order and take it up with this at the same time?
Motion by Councilor Kishia to take item 10.2 of order, to take it along with the motion response on hiring. Give me a second here. Okay, 10.2 is the motion made by Councilor Kishia to request the city manager have human resources report on how the cyber issue is affecting the hiring process. Need a second to take this item out of order and also to discuss it with the motion response on hiring by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Kishia?
Thank you, Mayor Chow. Through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, if I would have saw this motion response, I wouldn't have had to put in the motion itself. So I don't really, you'll probably be able to answer that response now, so I won't need a response to the motion itself. But as I read through this memorandum given from HR, I look at two things that are contradicting themselves. It says, on average, the turnaround time for hiring in the city is approximately 5 weeks. However, this may vary dependent on many different factors, including but not limited to the length of the posting and the candidates available for the start date. So the length of the posting is already spelled out in here. So the thing that really is questionable that's pulling against that 5 weeks, because there's no way anybody's hired in this city in 5 weeks. The thing that's the one sentence that pulls this differently is, as soon as the posting is approved and posted. See, that's where the delay time is. It's not once it's posted and getting from the posting down to the hiring. It's how do we get from a department head to get it posted is taking a lot of time, and that's what's causing the delay and everything. And I just think if we can manage that piece faster, we can certainly help these department heads get their help sooner and try to push off. Because as we have an aging workforce in the city, we give more and more benefits in the city with vacation time and everything like that. So it's a challenge when you have 3 people out on vacation and now we're trying to fill jobs. And maybe it's the department head that's not giving it to you. Maybe it's HR that's not posting it. Maybe it's your office that's not okaying the posting. But it certainly isn't 5 weeks is written. So, and I get the whole point to it, but once something's vacated, some of these positions are extremely needed, and I think it's putting a lot of stress on a lot of people around here that we're not getting them posted quick enough, and we could be losing some good help. Thank you.
Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The hiring process, I have a different concern, and I did go to the city website to try to see if I want to apply for a job. And I saw the instruction that if I want to apply for a job with the city, I will create an account with my all information, and I can put my other skills and all of that. And then it says once the application is submitted, then the applicant will receive an email, acknowledge the application, and then also the candidate can also check the process and the progress of the job posting and job opening. However, I have a young man who applied for a position. He said to the contrary that he has never received any email or confirmation. So I just want to be clear that we do give applicant a courtesy of letting them know that number one, the city received their application for the job, and if they're not hired, the person is not hired, we also should at least give the courtesy of sending an email say we thank you for your for applying. However, we hired someone else, and then in the private sector, they would say, we'll keep your resume in a closet, and if you need something, we'll call you. It's something, to that effect that will help the applicant appreciate that the city take the time to acknowledge their time and effort to apply for a job in the city. That would be my comment. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through you to the council. Councilor, you have my sincerest apologies to your friend. We've experienced this previously before, and what happens down in HR is once the system closes, it'll show, and I'm looking at Minan right now, Mr. Fernandez, excuse me, emails may go out, but they may go into spam, they may go into something else. We do have a log down in HR as to when things were open and when pieces were closed. So once again, my apologies to your friend, and my apologies to anyone that doesn't get that reply email, but that is something that we've really tried to increase the frequency of it. But however, we do find it is an issue, that sometimes it's just not allowed into someone else's world of email. And if the person that you're referencing would like to call the office, we can definitely run that down and make sure that that was truly the case. So far, when people have called to say they haven't heard, we're able to show when that particular piece went out. I hope that's still true today, Mr. Fernandez, that would happen again, given our recent situation. It appears that it is. So once again, the apologies for that.
If I could may follow up, this is before the cyber incidents, and I bumped into this young man, and then I asked him, so did you apply? I said, yeah, I did. Apply not one job, but two opening, and he has not received. And I apologized on the city behalf, and I said sometimes the system is good if it's worked properly, but sometimes it's not. So the best thing to do is to call the HR and then to ask, hey, have you received my application online, things like that. So I would encourage people at home who are watching who may apply in the past, if you have the situation like this, please feel free to call the HR, the city hall, and inquire about that, And sometimes people try to be polite, don't want to be bothered, but then, the allow wheel to get the grease, so that's what he need. I mentioned to him to give a call. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also had several people that reached out to me about positions that they had applied for and never received any response. I did reach out to Mary Callery. I know she's not here, so I don't want to talk too much about it, but she did reply that if the department heads do not let her know that they haven't chosen someone, then it stays open, basically, and they never received that response. So there is still a gap there, I think, that we should look into. Thank you.
No other comments or questions on this motion response. We now go to the next motion response, the alphabet H, which is on Department of Labor grant. Any comments or questions by any of the councilors? No comments on the Councilor Janess?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry about that. Thank the team for the response. I just had a couple questions about, in here I talked about waiting until the second round because of some timing issues around whether or not we know projects would be funded to get in the first round. When is the first round applications due? Do we know?
Through Mr. Manager to Giovanni.
I believe that round has already closed.
Okay, all right. So round two is as good as we can do at this point. I think this is a big opportunity for the city, and I think there's a chance to have some knock-on effects once we get, this kind of training in place. So I really do hope that in the future we are able to apply as the plan is, and that we get this grant, because I think there's some benefit here. So I just want to make sure this stays on the radar, and I hope that we can come back next year and talk about what we've been approved for and what we're using it for. And I look forward to that discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question to clarify. Is it just the training grant, through you to the DPD director, is it just the training grant that we're waiting to the next round? Because there's 3 other infrastructure-related grants that are mentioned in the response, and my impression was that we have applied for funding for those 3 infrastructure-related programs, and it's just the training grant that we're waiting for the next round?
The manager will answer that.
Oh, sorry, through you to the city manager.
Mr. Manager?
So thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. It's the training grant that we're obviously interested in. However, Councilor, bringing up the other 3 pieces, obviously everyone knew and has read about the excitement with the $21.4 million raise grant. And that's item number 3 here. The DPD has applied for a Rebuilding America Infrastructure and Sustainability and Equity, which is the RAISE grant, would provide funding for upgrades and repairs to construction for several bridges in the project. When we actually wrote this particular piece, I was lucky enough to know, as well as the assistant city managers, to be there when the phone call came in. So the $21.4 million that the city of Lowell will be receiving is no small feat, and I want to just take a moment, if I could, Councilor, to say thank you very much to Congresswoman Trahan, Senator Markey, and Senator Warren. And I truly believe that from our team, without the leadership of Ms. Baez-Rose and Ms. Altman, who was here tonight, and Mr. Espada, these folks really did a tremendous job in ensuring that this $21.4 million is coming here to the city of Lowell. And as most of you know, we talked about this as early as we could. We had to hold it. But the Broadway Street Bridge, which is closest to Macheras over Western Canal, that is something that has been targeted by our team. The Market Street Bridge at Merrimack Canal, which is closest to the Athenian Corner, all throughout the downtown area. The Lawrence Street River, which is over River Meadow, right next to Caballeros. Yes, we're talking about all the restaurants, giving them a free plug, I guess. But those are the three main bridges that this piece will take care of. And then, of course, the pedestrian piece that DPD has already put out, and I might leave that for the Assistant City Manager for a moment, but we already have the design, thank you very much, thank you very much for that word, for that pedestrian bridge. So there's a lot of excitement happening in the city of Lowell. I know it made the front page of the paper, but I really wanted to take an opportunity to say thank you to not only Congresswoman Trahan, but also our team over at DPD for making this happen. This is a huge, huge win. And Ms. Byers, is there anything else you can add to it? We're the only one in this area that received this?
We were the largest award in the Commonwealth and one of the largest in this program nationally that was awarded, so we're really excited about it.
We are very excited about it, but once again, following back, Councilor, to your question, this is a good opportunity, and we're hoping to go to the Department of Labor building in the Pathway Infrastructure Job Program, which every councilor here has been discussing. So we're hoping round two is going to be kind.
That's great to hear, and thank you very much, Mr. Manager and Ms. Baez-Rose for jumping in with that great news. Indeed, and hopefully with these other grant opportunities through the bipartisan infrastructure law, there's even more good news to come. But and I think this is great that we're looking into the training grant in order to train for infrastructure-related jobs. I know that Mass Hire is currently working on other programs that are training young adults to do pre-apprenticeship training and things like the trades, and that will hopefully connect them with some of the infrastructure that's already been funded within the city. So I know there's good work happening in that area, and hopefully these other grant opportunities through the bipartisan infrastructure law can just expand upon those training opportunities that are already being offered. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much. I don't want to overlook the other two pieces in regards to the Mass Broadband Institute, Mass Tech Collaborative. Ms. Burgess and Mr. Espita, they've been working on that as well, and we're hoping to hear throughout NEMCOG. We're going to be working with NEMCOG in regards to that. And then the second piece, when we're discussing the School Grant Renew project under this bill, Ms. Moses, I think the entire team over at DPD, of course led by Assistant City Manager, we have that in as well. So there's two other pieces that this is what this is talking about, which once again, I'm not so sure we can beat the $21.4 million that we received, but we're going to give it a shot. But thank you very much to Ms. Burgess and my staff, as well as the entire DPD team, for all their hard work, because these three pieces were done in a fast manner. They had to move rather quickly, but it was high quality work, and obviously with that, with the outcome, at least on one of them right now, it's bridge work that we need to see done within our city limits. So thank you again to Assistant City Manager Rose, as well as her team.
Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager and Ms. Baez-Rose. I just want also commend their hard work and receive this $21.4 million for the 4 bridges, particularly the resident who live on Suffolk Street, the corner of Suffolk and Broadway, that always concerned about that bridge was damaged due to the accident many years ago, and there's it was blocked and stuff like that. So this would be a really final piece connecting that canal from the Ecumenical Plaza on that canal, connected the new bridge on Broadway all the way to Fletcher Street. Now the Fletcher Street will be open, so this really complement well with all of that canal that connected to that. So I really appreciate that. Like the manager said, thank you to Congresswoman Trahan who go to the bat for the city of Lowell. We appreciate her assistance and always keep Lowell in her heart. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this? Councilor Kishia?
Thank you. Just one question, and I do applaud everybody for their hard work on the Rebuilding America Infrastructure Bill. The DPD applied for the school grant renewal bill under the bipartisan infrastructure law. Do we know when we'll get information on whether we received it or not, or did we already receive it? Do you know that answer?
Through Mr. Manager to Ms. Byers-Rose.
Thank you, Mayor. Initially, the grant announcements were supposed to be 6/16. Catherine Moses has been checking that portal regularly, and the state has updated the website, so now it actually says that June of 2023. So maybe by Friday we'll hear. So as far as we are aware, they have not announced decisions for that yet, so we're still keeping our fingers crossed on that one.
Do we have an amount that we're within, or is it something that they just, scatter the amounts across depending on where they award it?
I'm not exactly sure. I do know that our request was just over $15 million for that grant.
Could you do me a favor and just email us when you know when that is in? Because I think it's important when we start looking at the efficiencies in the school buildings and winterization and stuff like that. So if you could just email it over so that we have some information on it.
As soon as we know, we're going to be happy to share that information. If it's good news, if it's bad news, I'll let the manager send that email out.
Thank you.
No other comments on that motion response. We'll now go to motion response I on the Lowell Sun sign. Any comments or questions?
Thank you. It's sometimes the smallest things that get the biggest impact, and I think this is something that a lot of the residents are excited about based on, I shared this on social media, and I saw a lot of positive feedback, so thank you.
No other comments. The last motion response is the alphabet J on ethics training. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. Yeah, this is another area, again, I think we need to really make sure that we implement some solid training regimen. I know things have been crazy lately, especially with it all being computerized, but I'm looking forward to see when the reports become available from the state, so thank you.
Councilor Yan?
Just a quick question, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Does the councilor are required to take this ethic training as well?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the council. The answer is yes, sir. Everybody is required as well as elected officials. The clerk knows, Mr. Clerk Gary knows a lot about this. They've actually just recently, and I believe from last year, he was doing this, and now we've put it into the state's hands. Mr. Clerk, I just want to make sure that I'm correct on that.
Yeah. This is the last couple of years with COVID and what happened after the state was developing a new program. Took them a while to develop that new program. We moved off our LMS system in the city, and we're going directly with the state. So it's a much more efficient system. It's an easier system for the end user, and it's basically an easier system for me to go in and generate reports to see who has complied and who has not. I've sent out, obliged to send out the notice that you're required to take it. There's a letter from the city manager involved in that packet that I've sent to each and every one of you as well, telling you what is expected of you, what is needed, and moving forward on the thing. It's going to be a much more efficient and easier system from the end users, and basically it's going to be a little easier from my end too, so I always like that.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. And per the council's request in trying to get this accomplished, we will be having a minimum of three informationals about ethics training and things of that nature. So we are moving forward per the push of the council to continue that education opportunities, but especially in the ethics area. All of our employees will have an opportunity to stop by during these informational sessions just to ask questions in regards to that, Councilor.
No other questions or comments? Councilor Nguyen?
Mr. Mayor, motion to bundle 5.3 and 4, and motion to approve.
Okay, excellent. Let's just complete this communication first, because that came to the complete already. With a motion to accept and place on file the communication from the city manager by Councilor Yam, second by Councilor Drinkwater. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Councilor Nguyen, could you repeat your motion to bundle what numbers?
5.3 and 4, and motion to approve.
Motion by Councilor Nguyen to bundle 5.3 and 5.4 and to approve. Motion.
I just have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, let me just read first, and then that was Councilor Nguyen. Was that second by Councilor Robinson? No, Drinkwater. Second by Councilor Drinkwater. 5.3 is communication, reappointment of John Dakota to License Commission. Give me a second for 5.4. Communication, reappointment of Sanat Gallivan to Planning Board. Mr. Clerk, please roll call.
Councilor Scott.
Mr. Mayor,
You
I have
can
a
make a
question.
comment after we do the roll call.
No, I just have a question, so.
Yeah, we'll call on you after we do the roll call.
Oh.
The question before the roll call.
The question before the roll call, if the roll
Councilor
call is
Yam.
already done, so no way.
Councilor Yam, go ahead.
The question 5.3, Mr. Mayor. Mr. John Descoto is running for the city council. My question to the city solicitor, can he be appointed? And if he got elected, will he have to vacate this position? So that's to the city solicitor.
Mr. Solicitor?
You deal with.
Yeah, I think, under, was it 268, as a special employee, you would be able to fill out the paperwork, and again, I don't think there would be any issues with something like that.
Okay, the issue of
Him
appointing him
of
or
him being on the license commission and then also being an employee of the city.
and become a city councilor. If he got elected and become city councilor, does he have to vacate his position or he continue to serve on the board, the commission?
I think at that point, he would have to vacate his position.
Thank you.
Councilor Rook?
Yeah, if it's the special employee, it would come before the council for a vote in order for him to keep the position, for anybody.
Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yam.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Councilor Getchia.
Yes.
Councilor Janness.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia. Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
And yes.
We already have taken up the votes per the Community Preservation Fund. We now go to the next vote is 6.8. 6.8 is vote apply, accept spend $155,000 Mass DOT Small Bridge Phase 1 Design Grant, waive food and second reading by title.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a motion to bundle 6.8 and 6.9?
Second.
Motion by Councilor Janness to bundle 6.8, 6.9, second by Councilor Nguyen. I already read 6.8, so I'm going to read 6.9. Vote applied, accept, expend $2,670,000, one stop for growth grant. Do any comments or questions on this one? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, roll call.
We got a motion to adopt.
It's a motion adopted by Councilor Janness, second by Councilor Nguyen also. Roll call, please.
Councilor Scott. Councilor Yam.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Councilor Getchia.
Yes.
Councilor Janness.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia. Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
10 yeas.
Okay. The next line item is 6.10. Vote authorize manager execute 5-year contract for LRWWU Engineering Services. Waive full reading, second reading by title.
Who's saying that?
And the City Council vote authorizing the city manager and to proceed under the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 30B, for engineering services for continued support and maintenance of Lowell Regional Wastewater Utilities, LRWWU, existing supervisory control and data acquisition, SCADA, SCADA, control system for a term of 5 years. Any comments or questions by any of the councilors? Need a motion, Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. May, and through to the council. Councilors, I'd like to give the opportunity for Mr. Young to come up to the podium. It's the last time I can actually tell Mr. Young to do this, because as many of you know, Mr. Young is retiring, and I just want to say from the administration standpoint, you know, Mark, 38?
43.
43. We're only going to pay you for 38 years. But on behalf of a grateful administration, I know for myself and many managers from the past, we want to thank you very much for the 43 years that you've given to the city of Lowell, all the hard work, all the double duties you've pulled for us, and it's very, very much appreciated, because whenever we had a question, whenever there was a problem, and whenever we had the opportunity, something to go out here on this last piece, you were always there for the city, and I just want to say thank you very much personally and professionally. So thank you, Mr. Young.
Thank you.
Now you can not do what I ask.
Thank you. 43 years is a long time working for the city, and it's been 43 good years. I have enjoyed my time, and I feel extremely lucky that in the morning when I wake up, even this week, I don't wake up thinking I don't want to go to work or feeling I don't want to go to work. I've always wanted to go to work. Sometimes I wanted to go skiing or to the beach, but I've never have had a day where I didn't want to go into work. It's been a pleasure serving all the city managers I have, especially you, Mr. Golden. I wish I was serving you for 5 years, but I'm not saying that long. And to all the councilors, always thank you for your support over the years, and the past councilors. And you all do your best to guide the city, and as a resident as well as a worker of the city, I appreciate the work that you all do. And it's been a great run. I enjoyed myself. And I hope there's no questions on with this, and I will see you all later.
Thank you again, Mr. Young, very much.
Now I need a motion to adopt the vote by Councilor Rook, second by Councilor Leahy. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yem.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Council Drinkwater.
Yes.
Council Getchia.
Yes. Yes.
Council Janess.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia. Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Roy.
Yes.
10 yeas.
We already taken up item 7.6.11. Now we're taking up 6.12. Vote set fiscal year 2024 revolving fund spending limit. Waive full reading, second reading by title. Mr. Clerk. And the City Council vote to fix the maximum amount that may be spent during fiscal year 2024, beginning on July 1st, 2023, for the revolving funds established in city ordinances for certain departments, boards, committees, agencies, or officers in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E, 1/2, or take any other action relative thereto. I have no comments or questions by any councilor. Motion to adopt by Councilor Janess. Second, you have a question, Councilor Janess? Councilor Janess?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering if the manager might be able to just run through this a little bit. This is the first one of these that I've had to do, so I'm just looking for a little explanation of what exactly it is we're looking to do. And looking at the thing that was included, the chart includes a FY22 spending limit. Should that say 22?
Through Mr. Manager to Mr. CFO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in the table, that is obviously a typo. It should read FY24. This is an annual housekeeping matter that we vote on before the end of the fiscal year. So with the Municipal Modernization Act in 2018, revolving funds, which are funds that are established by the city and can be spent without further appropriation by the department head, in municipal modernization, they were allowed to be established by ordinance. However, the annual vote to set the spending limits maintained, and so every year the council has to take this vote to set the spending limit for each one of these funds prior to municipal modernization. And the reason I bring that up is because every year they had to be reauthorized, but now municipalities can establish those by ordinance. These are special funds where the council has established the fund, has established the types of fees that can be deposited into the fund, and then they can be spent without further appropriation by the department head in charge of the department, which is listed in the table in the vote, up to the prescribed limit. So what the council is voting on this evening is the limit for each one of these funds: the property maintenance, the vacant foreclosed revolving fund, the fund for the disability commission, as well as 3 revolving funds in the police department for traffic enforcement, police training, and cruiser detail, which is the most recently created of the funds. So I'm happy to answer any more specific questions, but generally this is an annual vote by the council. At the next meeting, we will be bringing forth a number of housekeeping items, cleanup transfers that happen at the end of the fiscal year. However, this one, pursuant to the statute, has to happen before June 30th, so that's why it's on the agenda this evening.
Well, thank you very much for that. I guess my only other question at this point then is, how do these amounts compare to FY23?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. CFO?
These spending limits are the same. The one that we have, well, the cruiser detail is more recently created, and I think FY24 may only be its second year in operation. It was a new fund with a new fee that was set up to offset some of the wear and tear on police vehicles that happens from detail sites. So they're out there at construction sites, and so a fee was added to offset some of the gas and wear and tear on the police vehicles. The one for traffic enforcement is what we've used each year as long as I've been here. However, this is one we're keeping a close eye on because it's set as a percentage of the 3-year average of civil motor vehicle infractions. But it's used by the police department to sort of supplement the operating budget to purchase police cruisers, so it helps mitigate the expense on the police department for vehicle equipment purchases. And we're finding that that is starting to be a limitation for the police department as their fleet ages. So it's something we're keeping an eye on. We can amend the spending limit within the year pursuant to an additional vote. It's not something we're planning to do right now, but I guess I'll leave that as a maybe for within FY24.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Could you give us an idea, just in order of magnitude level? No need down to the dollar, but what we're talking about in terms of that traffic amount. It's 75% of what?
Mr. Baldwin?
I'm gonna look to the auditor, but I would venture to say maybe $500,000. 350, I think, is the spending limit, so which has been the same for a number of years. So let's say, for the sake of discussion here, somewhere between $350,000, $400,000.
Has our ticket revenue remained steady over the past 5-10 years?
There was certainly a dip during COVID, and these are receipts that are sent to the city from the courts. So it is usually pretty steady, I guess, except for the variance in COVID where we saw a dip in, and these are moving violations, so speeding tickets, as well as running a stop sign, etc. The money goes to the state and then is redistributed to us. It is split in half, so 50% goes into the traffic enforcement revolving fund and 50% goes into the general fund. So I hope that addresses some of your question, Counselor.
Yes, it does. Thank you. I guess my only concern is, we're here almost weekly talking about traffic issues in the city, speeding, not stopping at stop signs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this seems like it may be an opportunity here. If, obviously, being able to enforce the ordinances is the difficult part. Having the staffing, having the ability for the police department to commit that time and energy to do it. But, I think we'd all be happy if we could step up enforcement and have our streets be safer. So if there's anything we can do there to help, I'm going to be in favor of that. Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Baldwin?
I just add that this is the funds for each one of these revolving funds. Their purpose is specifically outlined in the ordinance, which also can be amended by the council, but it does go to pay for overtime, for directed traffic enforcement, as well as for vehicles, and that is something that the police department regularly does, to the limit.
Thank you so much for that info. I appreciate it.
No other comments or questions? Need a motion to adopt by Councilor Janess, second by Councilor Leahy. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Counsel Scott.
Yes.
Counsel Yem.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Counsel Drinkwater.
Yes.
Counsel Getchia.
Yes.
Counsel Janess.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia. Counsel Noon.
Yes.
Counsel Robinson. Counsel Rook.
Yes.
9 yeas.
The next line item is 6.13, which is a vote to transfer $115,000 MIS, waive full reading and second reading by title. In the City Council, vote to transfer funds from the two MIS salary and wage accounts to the MIS software license account for the purchase additional software licenses for employees. Any comments or questions by any councilors?
Move approval.
Move to approve by Councilor Gishia, second by Councilor Drinkwater. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Counsel Scott.
Yes.
Counsel Yem.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Counsel Drinkwater.
Yes.
Counsel Getchia.
Yes.
Counsel Janess.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia. Counsel Noon.
Yes.
Counsel Robinson.
Yes.
Counsel Rook.
Yes.
10 yeas.
We're now on to Section 7, orders from the city manager. 7.1, order 60-day trial. Waive full reading, second reading by title. In the City Council, order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period up to 60 days. Any comments or questions by any councilors? Councilor Leahy?
Sure, thank you. Through you, the manager, I know traffic engineer just left, but what's the situation on, is it John Street they're doing what, Lee Street,
Mr. Manager?
for the parking?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Councilor, that is a loading zone as well as a no parking area. Apologies, I'm just reading it myself. One was requested by a business and the other one was requested by DPD.
All right, I'm just curious where it was, though. Does it specifically say, or it just says?
Near the corner of John and Lee Street, 20 feet south of the curb line.
Councilor, without asking the transportation engineer or those folks, I wouldn't hesitate to guess, just in the sense of the business that's over there. There's 3 or 4 businesses in that area.
All right, I was just curious, because there's no parking from Lee Street up to Merrimack, and then there's a couple of spots in front of the bank, so I didn't know where it exactly was, but it's only a 60-day trial, so, okay. Thank you.
No other comments or questions. Need a motion to adopt by Councillor Yam, second by Councillor Nguyen. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yim.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Council Drinkwater.
Yes.
Council Getchia.
Yes.
Council Janice.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia. Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
10 yeas.
We now at section H, which are the reports to the subcommittee. There are no report for tonight. So we now go to section 9, which are the petitions. 9.1 claims, 3 property damage. Any comments or questions by any of the councilors? Hearing none, need a motion to refer to Law Department for report and recommendation by Councilor Rourke, second by Councilor Scott. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor
Can we
Nguyen?
bundle 9.2, 9.3, and 9.4, no objection? And motion to...
Motion
public-
by Councilor Nguyen to bundle 9.2, 9.3, 9.4.
Second.
To approve to move by second by Councilor Robinson. 9.2, National Grid Verizon New England requests installation of additional pole on Varnum Avenue near Riverside Avenue. 9.3, National Grid Verizon New England requests installation of additional pole on Varnum Avenue near Fowler Road. 9.4, National Grid requests installation of underground conduit within Moore Street to improve electrical services to the Lowell Housing Authority property. These motions are referred to the public hearing on July 11, 2023 at 7 p.m. Already moved by Councilor Nguyen, second by Councilor Robinson. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. We now reach section 10. These are the city council motions. We'll start with 10.1. Councilor Yam requests city manager have the proper department look into the possibility of using existing canal waterways to harness hydroelectricity. Second by Councilor Janice. Councilor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While reading about renewable energy, I stumbled upon the hydroelectricity, and I said to myself, the city of Lowell has this power canal system that was the largest in the U.S. back. It's almost 6 miles long. In 1820, it was the largest system, and this canal system powered the textile mills throughout the city, and I don't think it's being used right now. And I thought, looking at how the system worked, could we, and hopefully this motion will start all the stakeholders come together, including the city and the owner of the canal, university, to sit down and find a way to show that we can use the the canal to produce hydroelectricity, which I believe that it can generate a lot of kilowatt for our city. I'm hoping that this is the first task that the newly created the department that will take on this task, and I think we on to something if we could put our head together. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments or questions on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. We already taken up item 10.2. We're now at motion 10.3. Councilor Gishia requests the manager have the proper department update engineering website to list the most recent paving conditions index and a 2023 list of paving projects listed by streets and sidewalks. Second by Councilor Leahy. Councilor Gishia.
Thank you, Mayor Chow. Basically, it's self-explanatory. Just if you could add to it, the building permits haven't been updated since March. If you can just add that to your list of things to get updated on the website. Thank you.
No other comments or questions. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Motion number 10.4. Councilor Gishia requests city manager look into offering the school department retirees lifelog. Second by Councilor Nguyen. Councilor Gishia.
I think the motion speaks for itself.
Excellent comment. Councilor Nguyen.
Mr. Mayor, I was thinking that while we offer to the school department, why not also the city retirees as well added to it?
Before I ask the motion maker to make acceptance, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Councilors, I apologize. I know this is your opportunity. We have been looking at this, Councilor Noon, when we discussed this a while back. This Thursday, there will be a vote taken by the city retirees, so that should be done. And Councilor Gitcher, in regards to this particular piece, I've been talking with Mr. Georges from UTL. All these conversations are happening. Per conversations, Councilor Noon and Councilor Gitcher, we can get this back to you in the following week. I just want to let you know how important we know this is. So.
Perfect. If you can just update us, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Gishia, was that accept the amendment request by Councilor Nguyen, second by Councilor Nguyen. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Motion 10.5, Councilor Gishia requests city manager update the city council on citywide crosswalk painting, second by Councilor Yam. Councilor Gishia.
Through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, over the weekend, we had a large display of people from UMass Lowell come to the city. They went through downtown. I think we have to really prioritize what we're going to do for crosswalk painting. And we can't wait any longer to have these things done. I mean, we have to go to the high priority areas and get them done. As soon as spring comes, get them done. And downtown is one. When you have that many visitors down there, we had details everywhere. It doesn't show to people, okay, there's a crosswalk here and the detail person's trying to Council Robinson was down there at the same time, and it was just, it's chaotic trying to get across there. And the same thing over in that Middlesex Street area, around Hadley Park. They use that park late at night, and some of these kids start to try to cross that road, and you can't tell there's anybody there, never mind the crosswalk. So if you could just look into getting some of these areas that we really have a lot of high traffic flow through done as soon as possible, rather than wait till the August, it would be beneficial to the city, especially when we had that many people down there over the weekend. It really didn't look good for us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Motion number 10.6, Councilor Scott requests city manager have the appropriate department work to develop a master plan around parking for Back Central, including looking at public-owned lots and possibly tax incentives for private property owners that provide parking spaces. Second by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this is kind of a long one, but obviously driving through Back Central, you'll see the cars lining all up on the sidewalks, at the street corners, and you automatically think about how there's an enforcement issue, but I think we really need to look that there's a parking issue in Back Central. There's been several studies that have been done through the years. There's one by MIT back in 2008. There were several others done by the city that had some suggestions about angled parking on collector streets to add additional spaces, and possibly acquiring more city-owned lots. That was one suggestion. And the one that was recently brought up to me was offering a tax incentive to anyone that may provide off-street parking spaces for rent, just to try to increase the pool of parking in the area. So if there's something we can look at, I think that would be really helpful, just to stop looking at it as an enforcement issue and look at it as a parking issue. Thank you.
Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I'd just like to say thank my colleague for bringing this up. I think if you guys come up with a model that could work Back Central, there's quite a few tight neighborhoods that could follow suit. So thank you.
No other comments or questions. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is also by Councilor Scott. Request city manager provide an update on the Tanner Street redevelopment plan. Second by Councilor Yam. Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Another one that has been brought up by multiple people through the years, there's been multiple grants for, the original plan in 2013, that was supposed to be a 20-year redevelopment plan. And then in 2019, there was a $3 million mass infrastructure grant for realignment at Tanner Street. And people just asked, what the update is. At the time, they estimated that we'd have $1.3 million in new annual tax revenue if we move forward with plans. So just if we could let residents know what our plans are right now around Tanner Street. Thank you.
No other comments or questions. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is also by Councilor Scott to request city manager work with appropriate departments to develop a citywide little educational campaign. Second by Councilor Drinkwater. Councilor Scott.
Thank you again. I really don't have specifics on what this is going to look like. What I just know is that I know the litter crew, thank you for all of their hard work. They're cleaning up in neighborhoods. Within a few weeks after they're cleaned up, they look pretty similar to what they looked like before they were there, unfortunately. And I think we need to start with education. I don't know if that's working with the school department, having our recycling coordinator back out, doing litter education in the schools. We have a bookmobile now that's going to be out and about. Maybe that's something we can incorporate into the lessons that they do in the parks. But these are just areas that I'd like us to look at. Thank you.
No other comments. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is a joint motion by Councillor Scott and Councillor Musia. Request city manager work with the appropriate department to find a way to broadcast public meetings without technical difficulties. Councillor Musia is not present, so this motion will be seconded by Councillor Leahy. Councillor Scott?
Would you like to speak on it, John? Yeah, thanks. So this is just really just for us to look at what the technical difficulties are that we've been encountering. It's not a blame type of thing. It's just how can we make this work better? Do we need additional equipment, additional hard wiring? That's it. I mean, again, tonight it froze again during the mayor of a day, I was told. It froze when I asked for a point of personal privilege, at the last meeting. So I'm just bringing it forward as a formal motion for us to look at. Thank you.
Councillor Leahy, you have a comment?
Yes, so I don't know if it's a matter of funding or what we need to do with LTC, but if we could work to see what we could, that would be, thank you.
Thank you for the comment, Councillor. No other comments or questions. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is by Councillor Leahy. Request city manager have the proper department update city council on sidewalk repair in District 3. Second by Councillor Janess. Councillor Leahy.
Sure. Thank you. The motion speaks for itself.
Excellent comment, Councillor. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The last motion is by Councillor Leahy. Request city manager update city council on a scheduled plan for the Shed Park Pavilion repair. Second by Councillor Scott. Councillor Leahy.
Thank you. If we could just get some sort of an updated plan on what we're going to do in increments to start working on the pavilion. I know it's used a lot, from citizens across the whole city. So let's see what we're going to do. Let's get started on the roof or wherever we feel we need to start, but that would be great. Thank you.
No other comments. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. We are towards the end of the meeting. Any announcements by any of the councillors? Any announcement? Hearing no announcement, we now need a motion to adjourn by Councillor Janess, second by Councillor Gishia. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Thank you, everyone, for watching tonight. Have a great evening.